What's up, guys? January is the last time of year that you would consider starting a spring garden here in North Texas, but it's actually the perfect time to start seeds indoors. There is a huge list of vegetables that can be started right now to get the biggest jump you can on the coming year. In this video, I'm going to show you what trays I use for my seed starting. We're going to make a custom soil mix to fill it with. We're going to put some seeds in it. I'm going to show you how to water it. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on seed organization and on record keeping. So let's get to it. I'm here today on January 28th, 2021, and this is the time in North Texas to plant a lot of different kinds of seeds between now and the middle of February. So that's what I've got set up here. I'm going to take you guys through how I plant all these seeds. So I use these trays. This is going to end up being for tomatoes, and I'm going to try not to overdo it this year. We're just growing for a family of 3, so really don't need that many tomatoes, but it gets really fun to grow. I'm going to start them in these 6-packs that I just recently got some plants in. And I put them in these trays I got from Bootstrap Farmer. These are really thick trays I've used for years and years now. And this one I drilled holes into the bottom to let the water out. But most of them I have not. And I use that to bottom water. So this one, for example, doesn't have any holes in it. It's a really thick tray. It's really easy to carry around. These get heavy once they're full of soil and they're wet. But these are really good trays to carry them around in. And these are 72 cell trays that I got from Bootstrap Farmer as well. Again, a lot thicker than a lot of the stuff you'll find. So this is meant to be reused year over and over again. I try to seed continuously every week, just a little bit each week. That way I can continue filling in spots in the garden and have a steady supply of things to harvest throughout the year. So now it's time to fill the trays. So for this, I use a 50-50 mixture of commercial potting soil with compost. That gives the best of both worlds. You get the benefit of all the water holding properties and the drainage properties of the potting mix. And you also get the soil life and the other nutrition that's in the compost. So you mix them both together and you should still have a very fast draining, water retentive mix to start your starts in. And I think it works out better than if you just go with the commercial potting mix itself. So I have the shower pan here. It's an old shower pan. And what I do is I take this sifter. I just take this old wine box. I got the bottom off of it. And then I put this hardware cloth on it. And I just stapled it in along the bottom and then wrapped it in duct tape so that it wouldn't cut because the ends are really sharp on this. And then I just put this in the basin and starting with compost, get a big scoop of compost and just sift it. And what's left are all the big chunks that if they had made their way into these little cells, they would have caused problems. So that's all that. So I just dump these off. I'll use these as mulch in the vegetable garden or on perennials I have around the property. And I'll do that with both the potting mix as well as the compost. And the benefit of using the shower pan is that it's got a hole in the middle and that this is an old smoker type grill that I have here. So it's got a big hole right here in the middle. So I just take a bucket, 5-gallon bucket, and I could stick it right underneath the hole and then just go push the compost in through the hole. And it makes it nice and easy to gather all this sifted compost and potting soil. So now I have my sifted compost in this bucket and I'm gonna do the exact same thing with the potting mix. Now I'm just gonna put down a piece of cardboard to close up that hole and I'll just mix them up right here. So I've got my potting mix and the compost, both equal parts. And now just mix it up. All right, so I've got it all mixed up. Now I'm just gonna do the same thing. Put a bucket down. So now I've got my 50-50 mix. And the last thing I'll do is fill the trays. So I put a piece of plastic down to catch all the extra. All right. So the last thing I'm gonna do is pour some water into the bottom of this tray, probably about that much, an inch or two, and then I'll lay this right back in. And over the course of the next hour, it'll pull all that water up into the potting mix and it'll be ready for seeds. So now these trays have soaked up all the water. They're feeling nice and heavy. And if you look close, you can actually see that they're nice and wet. So these are ready for seeds. And while these were soaking up the water, I was able to fill up the rest of these trays that I'm going to use. And now I'm going to bottom water these as well. So I'm going to put, this is rainwater. I like to use rainwater for starts. I'm going to just pour it in the bottom of these as well. And same thing, in a little while, should be able to come back and they'll be nice and wet. And now my favorite part, it's time to go inside and seed these trays. Moving on to the seeding. So now we're inside. I always like to seed stuff inside or in the greenhouse to keep the wind down. The wind can blow these light seed packets away. I just wanted to take you through how I organize my seeds, which I'll admit probably isn't the best, but it works for me. A lot better than my old way, which was just throwing everything in a drawer. So here I have 2 shoe boxes, and in them I have envelopes. I have some envelopes turned on their side as categories, and then in each category I have a bunch of envelopes that are full of seed packets. So that way, for example, if it's the middle of summer, I know I want to sow some of my warm season things, I could go through this. Summer squash, pick this out, and then I know, or winter squashes, and then I'll be able to find whatever I want, whatever seed packet makes most sense during that time of year, whatever I'm looking for. So on to seeding the tray. So I'm gonna put many different types of seeds in here. It's not just gonna be solid broccoli or anything like that. So in order to keep straight what's in where, I used to put little tiny labels. I would get on Amazon these really cheap white labels and cut them so they're shorter, and then I would put them before wherever I'm seeding. But I used to always end up losing those labels. So what I ended up doing is actually writing physically the letters and numbers to make this into a grid, and that way nothing can possibly blow away. And I even cut out one of the corners so I know the starting point. So wherever it's cut, this is always A1 right here. So that way I'll just write down in my book exactly what's in which grid numbers, and that way I can't possibly lose any labels or anything like that. So it's really helped since I switched to that method to keep everything straight. So the first thing I'm going to seed in this is beets. So I'll come over here, cool weather, and the first one is B for beets. So this year, right now, I'm going to do 3 different varieties of beets. I've got golden beets, Detroit dark red, and Kioja. So for these beet seeds, I'm just going to make a light, small indentation in the middle of each cell. And then just put them in one by one. So now I've seeded cells A1 through A6, so I'm just going to go ahead and write that down. This is beets, and the variety is golden. So that's it. I'm just going to continue the rest of this tray the exact same way I just showed. And from there, this tray is going to go into the greenhouse. I'm only going to plant stuff in here that can handle a light frost, cool weather crops. So this is going to go into the greenhouse, and then I'm about to seed in those 6-packs the tomatoes, and those seeds are going to go onto a heating pad under fluorescent lights inside because they can't handle any frost or cold temperatures. And that's all there is to it. I hope you learned something about starting seeds. If you have any questions, comment below. Otherwise, thanks for watching.